The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of golden dunes under the twin suns of the planet Eloria. Sergeant Cole Drayton, a seasoned soldier of the Earth Expeditionary Force, had been dispatched to this forsaken world on a routine patrol mission. His squad had split up to cover more ground, leaving Cole to trudge alone through the oppressive heat. Eloria was a recent acquisition of humanity's expanding empire, a planet deemed uninhabitable due to its harsh conditions. Yet, there were rumors of ancient artifacts buried beneath the sands, remnants of a long-lost civilization. Cole had little interest in old relics, but the promise of treasure, however faint, was enough to keep his eyes sharp. His scanner beeped softly, indicating something unusual beneath the dunes. Cole stopped, wiping sweat from his brow, and adjusted his scanner. The reading suggested metal, a large object buried deep. His heart quickened. Could it be the treasure the legends spoke of? He dug into the sand with fervor, each grain flying away in a flurry. After what felt like hours, his hands struck something solid. He unearthed more sand until the object took shape, a capsule, sleek and metallic, unlike any design he had ever seen. The surface was etched with symbols that glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Cole's curiosity overrode his caution. He pried the capsule open, expecting ancient relics or perhaps valuable minerals. Instead, he found her. Encased in a transparent chamber filled with a strange, glowing liquid, a woman floated serenely. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent hue, her long hair swayed gently in the fluid. Her features were delicate, almost ethereal, but distinctly alien. She was beautiful, unlike anything Cole had ever encountered. He reached out, pressing his hand against the glass, and for a moment, the world around him seemed to fade away. The woman's eyes fluttered open, revealing deep, luminous orbs that locked onto his. Cole gasped, stumbling back as the capsule emitted a low hum. The liquid drained, and the glass slid open with a soft hiss. The woman stepped out, her movements fluid and graceful. Cole instinctively raised his weapon, but something in her gaze made him hesitate. She spoke in a language he didn't understand, her voice melodic and soothing. I don't understand you, he said, lowering his weapon slightly. Who are you? What are you doing here? She tilted her head, studying him with an unreadable expression. Then, as if sensing his confusion, she reached out and touched his forehead. A wave of warmth spread through him, and suddenly, he could hear her thoughts. I am Lyra, her voice echoed in his mind. Thank you for freeing me. Cole blinked, trying to process the sudden connection. Lyra, what are you doing in that capsule? How long have you been here? Lyra's expression darkened. I was a guardian of this world, a protector of its secrets. My people were attacked, and I was put into stasis to preserve my knowledge. It has been a long time. Cole's mind raced. A guardian of Eloria? The implications were staggering. Why were you attacked? Who did this to you? Invaders, Lyra's eyes narrowed, a flicker of anger flashing across her serene features. They sought the power hidden within our world, a power that could bring destruction if unleashed. Cole felt a chill run down his spine. Are they still here? Lyra nodded slowly. They're remnants, perhaps. But if you found me, others will too. They will come, seeking the same treasure you thought you'd found. Cole tightened his grip on his weapon. We need to get you to safety. My squad, my ship, they'll protect you. Lyra placed a hand on his arm, a gentle but firm touch. You do not understand, Cole. I am not the one who needs protection. Your people. Your entire civilization may be at risk if the power they seek is unleashed. Cole stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. This was far more than he had bargained for. A routine patrol had turned into something that could change the fate of worlds. Then we need to stop them, he said, determination hardening his voice. Together. Lyra's gaze softened, a flicker of hope crossing her features. Together, we may stand a chance. As they prepared to leave the site, the ground trembled beneath them. In the distance, shadows moved across the dunes, and the air grew thick with an impending threat. Cole knew then that their journey was just beginning. Cole and Lyra moved swiftly across the dunes, the weight of their shared purpose binding them together in an unspoken alliance. The trembling ground and the distant shadows signaled the arrival of something ominous, and Cole's military instincts kicked in. He scanned the horizon, searching for cover or a strategic advantage. "Follow me," he whispered, leading Lyra towards a rocky outcrop that jutted from the sand like the spine of some ancient beast. They crouched behind the rocks, peering out at the approaching figures. The figures grew clearer as they neared, tall, armored beings with glowing eyes, wielding weapons that pulsed with an unnatural energy. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical, and their presence exuded an aura of relentless menace. "Who are they?" Cole asked, his voice barely above a breath. Lyra's expression tightened. "They are the Scyther, remnants of the invaders who once sought to claim Eloria's secrets. They were powerful then, but now they are something more, something twisted by the very power they sought to control." Cole's grip on his weapon tightened. "Can they be stopped?" Lyra's eyes glowed softly, a reflection of her inner resolve. "They can. But we must act swiftly and with caution. Their connection to the power they crave has made them formidable." Cole nodded. "Then we hit them hard and fast before they can regroup." As the Scyther closed in, Cole took aim, his rifle sights trained on the nearest target. "Stay close," he told Lyra, "and be ready to run if things go south." Lyra gave a slight nod, though her gaze remained fixed on the approaching threat. "I will not run. I have stood against them before and will do so again." Cole didn't argue. Instead, he squeezed the trigger, and his rifle spat a burst of energy at the lead Scyther. The blast struck true, sending the figure sprawling into the sand. The others reacted immediately, raising their weapons and firing beams of searing light toward Cole's position. The air crackled with energy as Cole ducked behind the rocks, returning fire when he could. Lyra stood beside him, her hands weaving intricate patterns in the air. A shimmering shield formed around them, deflecting the enemy's attacks with an almost musical hum. Cole spared a glance at her, awe flickering in his eyes. "What is that?" Lyra's voice was calm, despite the chaos. "A fragment of the power I was entrusted to guard. It will not last long, but it will give us a chance." The Scyther pressed forward, their relentless advance testing the limits of Lyra's shield. Cole fired again and again, but for every enemy he felled, more seemed to take their place. "We can't hold this position," Cole shouted. "We need to find a way to disrupt their ranks." Lyra's eyes narrowed as she scanned the battlefield. "Their leader. If we take him down, the rest will falter." Cole followed her gaze to a towering figure at the center of the Scyther ranks. Its armor was more ornate, its weapon larger and more menacing. "That one." Lyra nodded. "Yes. He commands them. His fall will sow confusion." "Then let's do it." Cole's voice was grim, his resolve hardened by the situation's gravity. "You cover me, and I'll make the shot." Lyra extended her hands, focusing her energy on reinforcing the shield around them. "Be swift, Cole. Their power is growing, and we have little time." Cole took a deep breath, steadying his aim as he emerged from behind the rocks. The leader of the Scyther loomed before him, its weapon raised. Cole didn't hesitate. He fired a precise shot, aiming for the creature's exposed throat. The energy blast struck true, and the leader staggered, its weapon falling to the sand. A ripple of shock passed through the remaining Scyther as their command structure crumbled. Lyra seized the moment, channeling her power into a brilliant surge that swept through the ranks of the Scyther, scattering them like leaves in a storm. Those who survived the assault fled into the dunes, their cohesion shattered. The battlefield fell silent, save for the labored breathing of Cole and the faint hum of Lyra's fading shield. "We did it," Cole murmured, his voice tinged with both relief and exhaustion. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression serene but tinged with sorrow. "This battle is won, but the war for Eloria is far from over. The power they sought still lies beneath the sands, waiting for those foolish or brave enough to claim it." Cole met her gaze, understanding the weight of her words. "Then we'll make sure it stays buried, for the sake of both our peoples." Together, they turned their eyes toward the horizon, knowing that their journey was just beginning and that the true test of their strength and unity lay ahead. As the twin suns dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the dunes, Cole and Lyra pressed forward, leaving the site of the skirmish behind. The weight of their shared mission bore down on them, yet neither spoke of retreat or surrender. There was too much at stake. "Where exactly is this power hidden?" Cole asked, breaking the silence as they navigated the shifting sands. Lyra glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. "Deep beneath the desert, in the heart of the ancient city of Nereth. It was once a thriving center of my people's civilization, but now it lies in ruins, swallowed by the sands over millennia." Cole nodded, taking in the information. "And this power, what exactly is it? What makes it so dangerous?" "It is an ancient force, older than my people and your own," Lyra explained, her voice soft yet filled with reverence. "It is said to be a fragment of the universe's creation, capable of reshaping reality itself. In the wrong hands, it could bring devastation on a cosmic scale." Cole let out a low whistle. "No wonder the Scyther are after it. And why your people tried to keep it hidden?" Lyra's gaze turned somber. "We succeeded for thousands of years, but the Scyther's arrival changed everything. They were relentless, driven by their lust for power. My people fought bravely, but we were not enough. I was one of the last guardians left when I was put into stasis." Cole's jaw tightened as he processed her words. The responsibility they now bore felt heavier with each step. "We'll stop them, Lyra. We have to." As night fell, the temperature plummeted, the once scorching sands now cold underfoot. They found refuge in a shallow cave nestled against a rocky outcrop. Cole set up a small campfire, its flickering light casting shadows on the cave walls. Lyra sat across from him, her hands resting on her knees, her gaze distant. "The Scyther will not stop," she said after a moment, her voice barely above a whisper. "They will regroup, and they will come again." Cole nodded, staring into the fire. "And we'll be ready. We have to get to Nereth before they do. Once we're there, what do we do to stop them?" Lyra hesitated, as if weighing her words. "There is a seal, an ancient mechanism that keeps the power contained. It requires a key, one that only a guardian can wield. If we can reach it first, I can reinforce the seal, perhaps even move the power to a place where it can never be found again." Cole leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "And if they reach it first?" Lyra's gaze met his, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "Then they will unleash a force that could tear the galaxy apart." Silence settled between them, the gravity of their mission becoming ever clearer. Cole took a deep breath, breaking the tension. "We should rest. We'll need all our strength for tomorrow." Lyra nodded, though sleep seemed a distant possibility. "Thank you, Cole, for standing with me." Cole offered a small smile, the warmth of the fire reflecting in his eyes. "I'm not just standing with you, Lyra. We're in this together." The next morning, they set out early, guided by Lyra's knowledge of the ancient pathways buried beneath the sands. The journey was arduous, the terrain unforgiving, but they pressed on, driven by the urgency of their mission. By midday, they arrived at the outskirts of what remained of Nereth. The once great city was now a vast expanse of ruins, half buried under shifting dunes. Towering stone structures, weathered by time and sandstorms, stood as silent sentinels of a forgotten era. Lyra's steps slowed as they entered the city, her gaze sweeping over the remnants of her people's legacy. "This was once a place of learning and harmony," she murmured. "Now it is but a graveyard of dreams." Cole placed a hand on her shoulder, offering silent comfort. "We'll make sure their sacrifices weren't in vain." They navigated through the ruins, guided by Lyra's memories and the subtle pull of the ancient power beneath them. It wasn't long before they reached the entrance to a vast underground chamber, hidden beneath a collapsed temple. The air grew thick as they descended, the weight of centuries pressing down on them. The chamber opened into a colossal cavern, its walls lined with intricate carvings and symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. At the center stood a pedestal, atop which rested a crystalline key, its surface pulsating with an inner light. "This is it," Lyra whispered, approaching the pedestal with reverence. "The key to the seal." Cole's instincts flared as he scanned the chamber. "We need to move fast. The Scyther won't be far behind." Lyra reached out, her fingers closing around the key. As she lifted it, the carvings on the walls flared to life, casting the chamber in a brilliant glow. The ground trembled, and a low hum resonated through the cavern. But before they could take another step, a loud crash echoed from the entrance. The Scyther had found them, their leader at the forefront, his gaze fixed on the key in Lyra's hand. Cole raised his weapon, standing protectively between Lyra and the advancing threat. "Get ready," he said, his voice steely. "This isn't over yet." The Scyther surged into the chamber, their weapons raised, their movements methodical and devoid of fear. Their leader, taller and more imposing than the rest, stepped forward, his eyes burning with a sinister light. He spoke in a guttural language, his voice reverberating through the cavern, filled with a mix of contempt and triumph. Lyra gripped the crystalline key tightly, her eyes never leaving the Scyther leader. "He says we are too late," she translated for Cole, her voice calm but firm. "That the power belongs to them now." Cole's jaw clenched. "We'll see about that." He raised his rifle and fired, the blast of energy hurtling toward the leader. But the Scyther leader raised a hand, and the energy dissipated in mid-air, absorbed by an invisible barrier. A cruel smile spread across his face as he gestured to his soldiers, who began to fan out, encircling Cole and Lyra. "We need a plan," Cole muttered, scanning their surroundings for any tactical advantage. Lyra's gaze flicked to the walls, the glowing symbols pulsating in response to the key she held. "The seal. It's connected to the carvings. If I can activate it, we can trap them inside." "How long will that take?" Cole asked, already calculating the time they could buy her. "Not long," she said, her voice tinged with urgency. "But I need to concentrate. I need you to hold them off." Cole nodded, determination hardening his features. "You focus on the seal. I'll keep them busy." Lyra gave him a brief, trusting glance before stepping toward the pedestal. She placed the key into a slot carved into the stone, and the chamber shuddered as ancient mechanisms ground to life. The symbols on the walls flared brighter, casting the room in an ethereal light. The Scyther, sensing the activation of the seal, lunged forward. Cole opened fire, each shot precise and measured, forcing the closest attackers to retreat momentarily. He moved with practiced agility, using the natural formations of the cavern for cover, his mind calculating every move, every shot. The Scyther leader barked orders, and the soldiers pressed on, undeterred by their fallen comrades. Their weapons emitted beams of dark energy, cutting through the air, forcing Cole to keep moving, to stay one step ahead. Lyra stood at the pedestal, her eyes closed, her hands outstretched as she connected with the ancient power coursing through the chamber. The key vibrated in place, its glow synchronizing with the pulsating light of the carvings. Her mind reached deep into the mechanisms of the seal, weaving the strands of energy that held it together. But the leader of the Scyther was not idle. He advanced toward Lyra, his focus on the key, his intent clear. Cole saw the movement and fired a volley of shots at the leader, but the barrier absorbed them once more. "Not so fast," Cole growled, reloading his weapon and switching tactics. He aimed at the ground near the leader's feet, blasting a chunk of the floor, causing the Scyther to stumble. The delay was enough. The hum in the chamber grew louder, the light from the symbols reaching a crescendo. Lyra's eyes snapped open, her face illuminated by the glow. "It's done." The pedestal emitted a beam of light that shot upward, connecting with the ceiling. The carvings pulsed one final time before the light expanded, forming a dome around the chamber, trapping the Scyther within. The leader of the Scyther roared, his barrier flickering as he pounded against the dome. The soldiers behind him faltered, confusion and fear finally seeping into their mechanical movements. Cole lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. "Is it over?" Lyra nodded, though her expression was solemn. "For now. The seal will hold them, but it is a temporary solution. We must ensure they cannot escape or attempt this again." Cole approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then we find a permanent solution. Together." Lyra looked at him, a glimmer of hope returning to her eyes. "There is a place, a sanctuary known only to my people. If we can move the power there, it will be beyond their reach forever." Cole gave a small, determined smile. "Then let's not waste any more time." As they prepared to leave the chamber, the light from the seal dimmed to a steady glow, a silent sentinel guarding the ancient power. Cole and Lyra knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready. Together, they would ensure the safety of not just Eloria, but the galaxy itself. Cole and Lyra emerged from the chamber into the cold night, the stars above scattered across the sky like shards of glass. The desert stretched endlessly before them, but now it felt less daunting. They had taken a significant step toward protecting the power hidden beneath the sands, but their journey was far from over. "We need to move quickly," Lyra said, glancing back at the entrance of the ruins. "The seal will hold, but the Scyther will not give up so easily. They will find another way to reach the power." Cole nodded, adjusting his gear. "How far is this sanctuary? Can we get there before they regroup?" Lyra's expression was thoughtful, her mind calculating distances and routes. "It is far, but we can make it if we stay ahead of them. The sanctuary is hidden within the mountains to the north, in a place shielded from both time and space. Only those with the knowledge can enter." "Then we've got a chance," Cole said, determination sharpening his tone. "But we'll need to stay one step ahead of them. We can't afford to let them track us." Lyra agreed, her eyes scanning the horizon. "There is an old pathway, one that the Scyther do not know. It will be treacherous, but it will give us the advantage we need." Without further delay, they set off, moving swiftly through the desert. The twin suns began to rise, casting long shadows over the dunes and marking the beginning of another arduous day. Cole kept a vigilant watch, his senses attuned to any sign of pursuit, while Lyra guided them with unwavering precision, her connection to the ancient paths guiding their steps. As the hours passed, the landscape began to change. The dunes gave way to rocky terrain, and the air grew cooler. They reached a narrow gorge, its walls towering high above them, providing a natural cover from prying eyes. Here, they paused to rest, taking shelter in the shade of the cliffs. Cole offered Lyra a water flask, watching as she drank sparingly. "We're making good time, but we can't afford to slow down for too long." Lyra nodded, her expression one of resolve. "The sanctuary is not far now. Once we reach the mountains, we will be safe from immediate pursuit. But the journey through the sanctuary itself will be the true test." Cole leaned back against the rock, closing his eyes for a moment. "What kind of test are we talking about?" Lyra's gaze softened slightly, her voice gentle. "The sanctuary is protected by ancient wards, designed to keep intruders out. Only those who are deemed worthy by the Guardians can pass through. We will face challenges that will test our resolve, our unity, and our intentions." Cole opened his eyes, meeting her gaze with unwavering resolve. "Then we'll face them together. We've come this far, and I'm not about to back down now." A faint smile touched Lyra's lips, a flicker of gratitude shining in her eyes. "Your spirit is strong, Cole. I believe we will succeed." They resumed their journey, the terrain growing steeper as they approached the foothills of the northern mountains. The air grew cooler still, the desert heat replaced by a crisp breeze that whispered through the rocks. The path narrowed, forcing them to move in single file, with Cole leading the way and Lyra close behind. As they climbed higher, the mountains loomed ahead, their peaks shrouded in mist. The sanctuary lay within those peaks, hidden from the eyes of the world and protected by ancient forces. Night fell once more, and they reached a plateau overlooking a vast expanse of rugged terrain. In the distance, the entrance to the sanctuary was visible, a massive stone archway carved into the mountainside, its surface adorned with glowing runes. "We're here," Lyra said, her voice tinged with a mixture of relief and anticipation. "The sanctuary awaits." Cole surveyed the entrance, noting its imposing presence. "It looks like it's been waiting a long time." Lyra stepped forward, her hand resting on the runes that glowed faintly under her touch. "It has. And now, we must prove ourselves worthy to enter." She turned to Cole, her expression serious. "Are you ready?" Cole nodded, his grip tightening on his weapon. "I'm ready." Together they stepped toward the archway, the runes flaring to life as the ancient guardians stirred from their slumber, ready to test those who sought entry into the sanctuary of the forgotten power. As Cole and Lyra stood before the archway, the runes pulsed rhythmically, casting ethereal light across the mountainside. The ancient guardians, unseen but palpable, stirred within the sanctuary, their presence a weight that pressed on both of them. Lyra stepped forward, her fingers brushing against the glowing symbols. The light flared brighter, and the air hummed with an energy that was almost tangible. She closed her eyes, her voice steady as she spoke in her native tongue, a melodic incantation that seemed to echo through the very stones of the mountains. Cole stood beside her, tense but resolute. He watched as the archway began to shift, the stone moving like liquid to reveal a passageway that descended into darkness. The runes along the archway dimmed, and a voice, deep and resonant, filled the air around them. Those who seek to enter must prove their intent. Step forward, and face the trials of the Guardians. Lyra opened her eyes, her expression serene but determined. "This is it," she said softly. "The trials will test our hearts, our minds, and our spirits. We must trust in each other and in our purpose." Cole met her gaze, his jaw set. "We've come too far to turn back now." Together, they crossed the threshold into the sanctuary. The passageway narrowed, and the light from the entrance quickly faded, leaving them in near darkness. But the walls glowed faintly, guiding their steps as they moved deeper into the heart of the mountain. The first trial presented itself as a vast chamber filled with mirrors, each reflecting different aspects of themselves. The mirrors shimmered, showing moments of fear, doubt, and pain from their pasts. Cole saw his moments of regret, the faces of those he couldn't save, and the battles that haunted him. Lyra saw the fall of her people, the destruction wrought by the Scyther, and her own failures as a guardian. The voice of the Guardians filled the chamber. "Face your fears, or be consumed by them." Cole took a deep breath, forcing himself to confront the images. "They're just reflections," he said, more to himself than to Lyra. "They don't define who we are now." Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on her own reflections. "We carry our pasts, but we are not bound by them. We have the power to choose our path forward." With a shared resolve, they stepped away from the mirrors, their reflections fading into nothingness. The chamber dimmed, and the passageway ahead opened, signaling their success in the first trial. The second trial awaited in a room filled with puzzles and mechanisms, each more complex than the last. The air buzzed with the challenge of intellect and strategy. "Prove your wisdom, or lose your way." Cole and Lyra worked together, their minds in sync as they deciphered the ancient puzzles. Cole's tactical thinking complemented Lyra's deep understanding of her people's technology and symbols. Piece by piece, they solved each mechanism, unlocking the path forward. Finally, they reached the last chamber, where the essence of the ancient power pulsed in the air, a brilliant orb of light floating in the center. The voice of the Guardians resonated once more. "Only those with pure intentions may safeguard the power. Speak your truth." Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "I seek to protect this power, not for dominance, but to ensure it never falls into the wrong hands. I carry the hopes of my people and the duty of a guardian." Cole followed, his voice strong. "I fought for many things, but this fight is for peace, for the future of both our worlds. I stand with Lyra, not as a soldier, but as an ally who believes in the right cause." The orb pulsed brighter, and the chamber filled with a warm, golden light. The Guardians, satisfied with their answers, opened a hidden passage leading to a sanctum where the power could be sealed forever. Lyra approached the orb, her hands steady as she began the ancient ritual to move the power into the sanctum. The light grew intense, enveloping her, and Cole stood guard, his eyes scanning the chamber for any sign of danger. Minutes felt like hours, but finally, the light dimmed, and Lyra turned to Cole, her face serene, the weight of the power lifted. "It is done," she said softly. "The power is safe, hidden where no one can find it." Cole breathed a sigh of relief, his stance relaxing. "We did it." Lyra smiled, a genuine, heartfelt expression. "We did it together." As they exited the sanctuary, the mountains stood as silent witnesses to their triumph. The wind whispered through the peaks, carrying with it the promise of a new beginning. Together, Cole and Lyra descended the mountains, their journey one of unity, trust, and hope for the future of their worlds.